time to share your experiences, how you made it, and what kind of tips you want to share. So,
well, let's jump in, and we're 3 minutes in, so we'll just assume people will trickle in.
So welcome everybody. This is Mike L. Murphy. And Mike, how about you tell us maybe a quick summary of your success and where you studied? I think people are really curious to find out what is it like to work for those major studios. So tell us a bit about what you've done, just so they know who you are.
Okay. Well, I'll go back in the day. When I think I was like 15 or 16, I got an opportunity to go visit Disney, and they were making Aladdin at the time. And I wanted to work in film, but I didn't necessarily want to be an animator. But when I got this opportunity, I thought, wow, this is really cool. And I found out that as an animator, like when you start working as an animator, it's a lot easier to break into the industry than if you're just like a filmmaker, right? If you're a writer or a director or something. So for me, that was like, oh, that's going to be my path in. And after being at Disney for this lunch period, which ended up being like 2 full days, I don't know how I got this opportunity. It was really awesome. I asked, I said, so I want to work here. What do I have to do? And my mentor at the time, he said, well, you just got to go to CalArts. I said, done. So I had contacted CalArts, and they said, actually, we're done for the year. We're not accepting anyone else. And I said, well, I'm going there. You guys maybe you aren't aware of that, but I'm going to go there. And they're like, okay. So I submitted a portfolio, and they gave me feedback on it and said, hey, because I had like Mickey Mouse drawings. I did all the stuff that I thought an animation school that feeds into Disney would want. And what they said was, actually, you need life drawing. And I was like, what's that? Like, I had no idea, because they wanted to know that I was a good artist, because they could see that I was imaginative, but understanding that I had the skill set, and this was before computer animation, but caveat, you still need to be a great artist if you want to do computer animation or work on the computers. So long story short, in a weekend, I think it was Thanksgiving weekend, I just drew my heart out, and I sent my portfolio back in, and like 3 days later, I got this letter. I'm like, they're gonna, it's gonna be like, no thanks, but thanks but no thanks. And I opened it up, and my jaw hit the floor, because they're like, hey, you're accepted. You're starting, in like a month and a half, because it was like middle of summer. And I went, oh my gosh. So, middle of summer by the time I got the acceptance. So I, at that point, was going to CalArts. And so I did that for 2 years. I went to CalArts. And the great thing about learning animation is you learn how to move things and perform, and there's all these different skill sets that animation embodies. But I wasn't really learning at CalArts the drawing side of things. So I spent my 3rd year, and I went to another school called Art Center. And all I did all day, like 8 hours a day, I just drew life drawing and learned how to paint, just develop my visual repertoire, rather than the movement side of things and the filmmaking side of things. And then I went back to CalArts for that last year, graduated, got my degree, and then immediately, I think my first industry job, because so my first technically industry job, I was an intern at Walt Disney Imagineering animating the robots, when you see the pirates and all that. And I did that for the rest of the summer. And then right then CG came out, and I realized this is the future. And all my friends that had spent 4 years learning how to do 2D animation were like, you're crazy, that's just a fluke. And I was like, no, I really think this is the future. And at that time, it was so fresh that nobody was really teaching CG. So it's not like I could go back and get another degree and go back to CalArts or anything like that. But luckily, Rhythm Hughes, which I think they're still around, they're a studio in Santa Monica. They looked at my hand-drawn animation and said, we want you. We don't have any work, but we want you. So we're going to hire you, train you. And then after training, if we have assignments, you can stay on board. Otherwise, that'll be that. So I negotiated a deal where I got paid a lump sum, whether I was there a week or I was there for 6 months. It was really good. So 3 months in, literally the last day of training, they called me and said, hey, we have to let you go. And I was like, this sucks, but also because I had a little business sense and I negotiated this deal, I was able to, I had some money in my pocket, And all the recruiters or all the training staff knew the training staff at all the other studios, and they liked me because one thing when you work in the industry is it's a small knit group of people, and you just have to be great to everybody because word gets around. So because I was just cool to the training staff, they called up the training staff at all the other studios, and literally the next day I was flown to Pixar, Disney, and ILM, and all of them gave me job offers. So, and Warner Brothers. So I had like 4 job offers on the table, and I went from like nobody would hire me, right? Because everybody, you know, I wanted to do 3D animation because I had known 3D animation people wouldn't hire me. But after I had the CG training, I had 4 awesome job ops, and I picked Iron Giant because I had seen Brad Bird come to CalArts, and every year he would come and lecture. And while everyone was talking about technical stuff like Squatch and Stretch, he was talking about storytelling, and I was like, that's awesome. I want to learn from this guy. So I worked on Iron Giant, and I just had Brad mentor me on that, and just everybody in that film was just so great. There's a lot of students, so it's because they didn't have a big budget, so they had to hire people that weren't charging top dollar.
That's amazing how you got those opportunities. If the industry must be different now, though. Like, what did you do that you got all those opportunities? Is it that you were just that keen for what was new?
I think a lot of it,
who you are and your skills.
I think first off, I was in the right place at the right time, because back then CG was just exploding and there weren't any artists. So I was very fortunate in the fact that I've been trained as 2D. There were some other artists that had come on just did 3D, and you could see a gap in quality between the 2D animators who are now doing 3D and people who had just been trained in 3D. So I was just in a really good position to have some momentum in my career. But then on top of that, because I was so passionate about animation and storytelling and filmmaking, and I was just excited. I was like, this is what I want to do. So I think that enthusiasm rubbed off in everybody. And also when you're just nice to people, when you say hi to your coworkers and you're just excited, right? People want to see you succeed. So when I got laid off, my 2 friends in recruiting, they were bummed for me. They're like, that sucks. You're really talented. You're really good. You should be working. So they just made some calls. And again, it's a small industry, and word got around pretty quickly that there's an out of work talented artist who's just been trained. But I would say for people coming in now, that what is going to set you apart is that skill set and that unique aspect that you bring to your art. Right? You're going to have to take your passion and your vision and your style and conform it to whatever project you're working on, right? If you're working on Frozen Part 9, you have to find that style. If you're working on the new Lion King, which is a very realistic, subtle kind of animation, you have to work in that style. But when you have that quality of work, and there's a break in there's an opening for studios where there aren't enough artists and they need to like hire people. That's when it really works. So I know, like, when I got out of school and all my friends got out of school, and this is like 20 years ago. So, but I'm sure the industry is exactly the same now, that you get a lot of no's, but then one time when there's that opening, that gap opens, and if you're in the right place at the right time and you're ready, boom. Because once you're in, provided you don't screw it up. So it's really about being patient. And I think also, if I was doing it over again, I would definitely get another job, right? I would have like I work at McDonald's or whatever, so I could pay the bills. And then I would just wait for that moment of when this opportunity to work at a studio is. That's the first advice. And the second advice is just take any job in the industry that you can. Don't be like, I'm going to wait for Pixar to hire. Like, if there's a small commercial house or a video game company and they're like, hey, we'll hire you, do it and use that as an opportunity to learn. So another sub-career I had in animation was doing a thing called pre-visualization or previs. And that's where you'll get a script and you'll basically do a 3D version of it. It looks almost like a video game animatic or a video game intro sequence. And you'll block out what the movie's going to be. So when they go and they film the movie live action, they know what shot, what camera lens, what movement to put on that camera. So it's a great way for people to learn to save money when they get on set. So the whole crew is like, oh, that's what we're doing today. Cool. And that wasn't what I was trained to do, but I took that opportunity because I just got laid off from Disney after Meet the Robinsons. And I was like, I can do this. So, animation, I can try it out. And that became a 5-year sub-career for me. And I treated that as, oh, wow, this is like graduate school where I'm learning filmmaking. I'm learning a different facet of animation. So if you can go into this and really have an open mind of any opportunity that comes my way, I'm going to take that opportunity and I'm going to pick the brain of the artists around me because they're going to have more experience than me. And that in turn is going to give me different skill sets and let me kind of brand myself as what I'm really good at. And when you have that, when people are like, oh, Mike, yeah, he's really good at doing like medium close-up acting shots that are really subtle. If a film comes along and they need that, and I put my portfolio in the ring, I'm going to probably get called in. Maybe I won't get the job, but I'll probably get called in because that's what I'm known at. So as an artist, you want to kind of brand yourself for what you're passionate about doing.
Is that how you ended up working on the Gollum character? Because you got known for that from Iron Giant?
Yeah, well, on Iron Giant, because I had 2D skills, on Iron Giant, there was 2 big sequences that are heavy acting sequences for the giant. One was when the deer gets shot, and one was at the ending when Hogarth is seemingly hurt, right? And Brad Bird wanted Steve Markowski, who was the supervising director of the Giant, wanted him to do that. I remember I got called into their office. I was like, oh my gosh, please come to my office, Mike. I'm like, oh, what happened? And I came in his office, and it was Brad and Steve, and like, hey, check this out. And they played the deer sequence. Like, do you want to animate that? I'm like, really? It was like my first movie. I got a whole sequence that's like major acting. I'm like, yeah. And Steve's like, I just don't have the bandwidth to do it. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So because of that, when I went to Stuart Little, they started giving me acting shots. And then I was working at Warner Brothers on Scooby-Doo. And they gave me, my friend Richie, who was then the animation director of Scooby-Doo, he would give me acting shots. And then he's like, hey, Mike, like for 3 months, he was like, hey, I'm going down to New Zealand to work on Lord of the Rings. There's this Gollum character. I want you. And I was like, no, I don't want to move to New Zealand. And then like 3 months later, he kept asking me, like, Richie, if you never ask me again, I'll say yes. And that was that. So because I had a reputation for doing a particular, like I had a strength, like if it's a basketball team, I was a guy that could be 3 meters away and I could just shoot the ball. That was my skill. I couldn't do anything else, but I could do that. So when you start working in the industry and you get different assignments, they'll figure out what you're good at and what you're not so good at, and they'll keep gravitating you towards the stuff that you're really good at. And as you build your career, you get known for that. So again, you want to like go in and say, what are you really passionate about? And showcase that in your work, but also show that you can not do everything, but you have enough of your talents, your technical skills are solid enough that people feel comfortable if they give you something that's not quite in your wheelhouse, you'll still be able to do it. And in my career, I got, because I do more of the acting kind of stuff, I got on this was it, I think the third one, they gave me Shelob to animate. And I started doing it, and I just kept getting notes and notes and notes. And finally, they called me in and like, hey, you're not really great at creatures. You're good at the other stuff, right? We have more Gollum shots for you, but the creature stuff, it's just not your wheelhouse. And I said, yeah, that's right. So there's going to be things that you're good at and things that you're not good at. But if you're just open to going along with whatever opportunities come your way, you're going to naturally just go to that spot. So there's going to be a lot of times, especially I know a lot of people that are going to be listening to this are students, and they're dreaming of getting the skills and then going into the industry. You're not going to probably work at Pixar, whatever your dream studio is right off the bat. But if you're willing to, like I mentioned, take those opportunities as they come and really use that as an opportunity, like it's like college, I'm getting paid to learn. That's what's going to get you eventually to where you're going to end up.
Do you think it matters which schools a student goes to today? Like, is it really important to go to like a really top school like Cal Arts or Sheridan, or and
yes,
if you know where you want to go too, like I know like a lot of people like Ringling for 3D. Like, what advice would you give a young person who's like, well, I really want to do animation? What school is good, and do I have to, because it's really hard to get into the really good ones. Yeah. Could you still break into the market by by getting to another school and still being trained. Like, what's your experience with your colleagues, people that you've worked with? What do you think about it?
I work with so many artists, and as I was directing and supervising, I'd work with people that were pretty new to the industry. And I'll be honest, I don't care where somebody went to school. I care what their skills are. So if you want to go to, like, say, Cal Arts, ask yourself why. And if it's because of the name, that's fine if it makes you feel better. But what I'd recommend is you look at the quality of the students who are graduating. And if you're like, wow, consistently the work is really good, that shows you that school has great instructors and they have a great curriculum. Because I haven't been to Cal Arts in a long time, but let's just say, well, let me back up. Cal Arts, back when I went to it, was the best because Disney Studios was right down the street. Right. So it's not like I'm in Nebraska and I'm learning from some guy that read an animation book, right, and doesn't really know what he's doing. These are the best in the industry. But now animation's become very globalized, and you have schools like Animation Mentor, and there's some other ones that are online. And I see a lot of people in the industry are now coming out of schools like that. So I think in this day and age, because of the internet, a great approach that you might take in getting into a school is make sure that the school you're going to has a foundational education. So when I went to Cal Arts, you just focused on art, and I didn't get math or history or anything, philosophy, any of these things that just to be a great, well-rounded human being, I didn't really get that. I learned art and filmmaking, but I didn't get that other stuff. So I recommend, if you are like in high school, maybe possibly go to a student college and just do life drawing and painting, like the basics of art, but spend a lot of time on just your general education and art history. And then when you go to like a Cal Arts or a Ringling or a Sheridan, you can really just dive, because all those credits, you have to do those things anyhow, but at least that's behind you. And now you can just focus on learning those skills. And sometimes going to a physical college like a Cal Arts or Sheridan, you have all these extra costs. Unless you live down the street, you have extra costs of housing and stuff. So it might be, if money's an issue, then something like an Animation Mentor or some online coaching might be a better route to go. But again, if you're going to apply to work on one of my movies, I'm not going to say, well, I need to see your diploma. You didn't go to a school I've heard of. Get out of here. I'm just going to look at your reel. And if your reel is great, you may be self-taught. Maybe you didn't ever go to any animation training. But if it's really good, and I'm like, wow, I want your quality on my project, you got the job. So when it comes down to picking a school, it's really like picking what resonates with you the best and just making sure that the consistent quality of graduates is the quality that you're aiming, you envision yourself having.
Okay. Do you know of some good online schools?
I know that Animation Mentor back at least a few years ago was still really powerful. I know since then there's a lot of different schools. So again, just look at their graduation reels. And like, because every school you go to, there's going to be one or two amazingly talented students that you could put them anywhere and they're going to excel. They're just that talented. So if you look at like 10 students and one of them's amazing, the rest are kind of, I would hesitate to go to that school. But if you look at another reel and it's 10 students and all the projects are maybe not the character animation is great, but maybe like the modeling's great on one and the color direction's right. So you can see that there's a consistent quality of skill sets that's being taught to the students. That's when I would get excited about that particular school.
That's great advice. So what else did you wanted to cover? Some of the things like what it's like working for these big studios. And because I think it's nice to encourage people and
it's really
not every day that we get to talk to somebody that's doing and did what they're dreaming of. So I don't know.
Like a day in the life.
Ask you a lot, you know? I know you've done a lot of mentoring in your career too.
I mean, I worked at like all the big studios, and like the ones that I didn't work at, I had friends that worked at, and I'd always be hanging out at those studios. So I'm very well versed, but they're basically all the same. You're gonna start your week out and you're gonna get your assignment. So whether you're a modeler or an animator or a lighter, whatever it's gonna be, and you're gonna get that particular task to do, and you're going to look at it in context of what came before and what came after. So if I have a shot of, let's say, Gollum, and he's turning his head and he's about to take a step, I need to know the shot before. It's a long shot and he's turning, so my shot needs to hook into that, and then whatever the shot after that is. So you have to understand the context of what you're creating. And then once you're able to do that, you'll have whatever time that they allocate on. Like on Lord of the Rings, they never gave me a deadline. They're like, just do the shot, and when it's great, it's approved. Or other like commercials and stuff, they're like, you have 2 days, and then you got to move to the next shot. So you have to understand that side of things, and then you'll do your work. You'll start blocking your scene in, and then you'll have dailies. And if you have stuff to review, you'll go to dailies. If it's not ready, then you don't. We basically go to dailies, and my favorite dailies was on Iron Giant. And what you do, you come, or at least back then, you come in the room, and all the artists who were having their date, who were submitting work, were there, and the supervisor would be there, and they would play the sequence, and your shot would be edited in, so you could see it in context. And then everybody would just say, I like this, I don't like that, it'd be better if, better that, what were you thinking, what were you not thinking? And everybody's sort of giving you feedback, and then you'll pick what you think you're going to use and what you're not going to use. Usually, like on a good movie like that, the director, so that was Brad Bird, who's one of the best directors out there, he would say, okay, based off what everyone said, here's what I want you to do, and he'd give you very clear directions. I've also worked on some awful movies where the director's just like, I don't know, figure it out. And those movies are awful. Like, they're just bad because there's nobody steering the boat. The boat would crash a lot. So it does help when you have a really good director who has a very strong vision and can articulate that vision. But basically, you're sitting in and you're staring at your desk, and artists are very introverted, so everybody's just kind of got their headphones on and they're working away, and then every now and then you'll just need a breather, so you'll get up and you'll goof around, and they usually like ping pong tables or video games or Xboxes, and then you'll go to the break room and you'll have your snack, and you'll go out to lunch and you just sort of talk smack about the film industry, right? And that's basically it. It's not super glamorous. I know there's really no difference than you just being in your room, just being creative. You're just usually in a room with a couple other people, and you're all being creative, and you're like, it's like you're going to war. You're all in this together, and you're all hoping that the movie's going to be good. And if you want everyone to succeed, because it's just going to make your work look better. So that's pretty much what it's like. And when you can work at like a studio like Disney, so I love working at Disney. I was there for 2.5 years, and I was very lucky because when I got there, they shut the film down, but they decided they were going to Meet the Robinsons. And that's right when Disney acquired Pixar. So Pixar came in and said, this movie's not ready yet. We have to like rethink it. So it was literally a whole year when I didn't have anything to do. So I would go to the morgue, and if you guys don't know what that is, that's where it's like the Disney library, and it's just for employees, and you can go in. And I could be like, hey, the scene in 101 Dalmatian with Cruella de Vil, I want to see that. And they'll walk you back, and you put on little gloves, and you literally are flipping the original drawings. Or like, hey, the Beauty and the Beast, when Beast transforms, Glenn Keane's animation, I want to see that. So I just spent a year just studying all of that. Again, I had this opportunity, instead of like being like everyone else that was just kind of like watching movies and poo-pooing around. I'm like, I'm going to learn as much as I can about this. And I also was on the lot, so you could walk across the street, and I was walking in sound stages and talking to the crews, like, why are you doing this? So that was probably the funnest thing. I was working at Disney just because the studio lot was next door. But really, it's like animators and artists are all kind of the same. We're all kind of geeky, and we're like, every time a new movie trailer comes out, everybody would huddle around and crank the speakers up and like, wow, that looks cool, or that looks awful. So it's like, it's just geeking out and having fun.
It's a pretty awesome career to have.
It's not bad. It's not bad. Although one warning for everybody, and I had to learn this the hard way, and maybe it's better now, but on Lord of the Rings, I got really bad carpal tunnel because I was working like 100 hours a week. It literally be Sunday night at 3 a.m. And when you're in that, you're just sort of working. But once the production ended and I had like the summer off, I got really horrible back pain and arm pain. Like, it'd be so bad on the third film, I was literally like crying as I'm working because the pain, and I was on like painkillers and stuff, and it didn't work. So for all you guys, study ergonomics, because if your desk isn't, and this applies especially if you're in school or if you have your home, you're working on your computer at home. You want to make sure that your desk is set up properly. I could teach you all about this, but I'm not going to. So just Google it. But it takes 5 minutes to just make sure your monitor is high, so the top of your head is flush with the top of your monitor, and your hands are, you're sitting straight up. So there's just some stuff to do that if you don't know that, you don't know that it's going to compound and really physically harm you. And I know there's a friend of mine, Doug Sweeland, who is one of the top animators at Pixar, on Toy Story 2, he was also working like 100-hour weeks, and because they basically did that entire movie over like a 5-month span. They threw the original version out, like, we gotta redo it. We got our delivery date, and he got really bad carpal tunnel to where he had to animate with his feet. They put paddle boards and stuff, so it can really hurt you. So that's really the only harm that can come from being an artist. I just want to warn everybody to pay attention to that.
It happened to me too. I had to stop working. I was an architectural illustrator, and I had tendonitis so bad I could only paint for about an hour a day before I was literally crying. Yeah, so you really got to learn how to work properly.
Yeah.
So you don't hurt yourself and burn out. Yeah. So, what else did you want to tell us about today? What do you think? Now, these students here, and then that are going to listen to the recording, they're, most of them are high school students still in the application period. They're not in school yet. There probably will be some people that watch this that are in school now, and some recent grads too. So I know everybody at a different stage needs to hear something a little bit different.
Okay, I'll start in the beginning. So if you're in school, or if you're like in high school and you're wanting to go to college, I think the biggest thing is focus on your life drawing. And one of the biggest things that recruiters, like college recruiters and also recruiters at studios look at, is if you can draw hands and feet. So you'll see these really amazing life drawings and the hand is just not there. Like the artist just didn't draw it, or the feet are not there. So that's kind of like a red flag. So for all of you guys, go out of your way and really study just anatomy and form and life drawing, especially as an animator. You're working in the animation or even the film industry in general. You're bringing personalities to life, which means even if you're animating a teacup, you still want to infuse it with human behaviors and stuff. So really studying humanity and how we move and our line of action, all that, that's going to be really critical towards you having a strong portfolio. It's the skills, right? So when you have a strong skill set, that's when the recruiter, whether it's a college recruiter or a studio recruiter, it's going to look at your skill set and say, wow, this person's solid. I feel confident if I hire that person that they're going to have the basic skill set to have decent quality work. Maybe they're amazing, but if nothing else, I want to have just a solid basic metric that all the artists are falling into. Now you might be thinking, well, gee, Mike, that sounds cool, but I don't want to draw. I want to do computer stuff. I want to do computer modeling and stuff. And I'll tell you, the best computer artists that I know, they're amazing, like physical artists, right? So like sculptors that can sculpt stuff in clay, they can go in and crush it in ZBrush. Artists who can paint by hand, they can totally kill it when they're painting digitally. So it's super, super, super critical that you learn those traditional techniques. And especially when you start going into the studio system, the supervisors and the directors, they're going to be people my age. And they were taught the traditional ways. The digital stuff's not that old. So they're going to feel more comfortable talking to you if they can look at your work and say, wow, this person, we speak the same language, so to speak. So that's the biggest thing, especially if you're in high school and you want to get in, they're going to look at your life drawing skills. Now, when you're in college, I think that the biggest thing you need to do is, if you're anything like me, you get into college and you're like, oh my gosh, this is awesome. You want to do everything. I want to do backgrounds and color theory and animation and filmmaking. All right. So you can very easily be distracted by all of it. And that's great the first few years. So I highly recommend if you're like in a 4-year program, the first few years, try everything, mess around, dabble in it all. But there does come a point, and I think that's right around when you're starting your 3rd year, assuming if you're going your 4-year program. That's where you have to really pick one niche that you're going to go after. So for me, I always wanted to be a director, but I realized I wasn't going to get hired out of school to be a director. So I was oscillating between storyboarding and computer animation. But back then, like I mentioned, I went to another school to learn drawing because my drawings weren't really good, but my animation was just a little bit better than my storyboarding skills. So I chose to really go strong into character animation, and my graduate film, I just really focused on character animation. So that film, it's this little pig running around. It's literally one character. There's a little character at the end, but it's one character for a minute and a half acting. I didn't have backgrounds. I didn't have anything that kept me from showing that I had a skill set at character animation. I left out of the film, and that's the film that got me 4 job offers at my dream studios because it was so simple and so strategic. I did that film just to get a job, and it worked. So you got to pick one skill and really show the world, I'm great at this skill.
Right. And then as you started to work, you found out that you were really good at the acting and the emoting, and you got famous for that and developed those skills.
Yeah.
So let's see. So now, Mike, you participate in our animation camp every summer. Mm-hmm. And because I think one of the things that you love to do is not just make films and direct and create, but to also mentor and see that people going into the field are really well equipped to do well. Mm-hmm. So you've created a program that helps students navigate that, or basically once they graduate, because I think you need to have some awareness before you go to school and before you graduate, like what you were just telling us, that how you start with this open mind, open slate, and explore, find out what you're passionate about, what you're strong at, and then make sure while you're still getting your education that you're developing one of those niche areas. Mm-hmm. And so you've made a program that kind of, it tells a student what to expect in the future and how to maneuver that, because I think you've taken a lot of your life experience and been able to siphon that down into a nice, neat.
Yeah, it's like a 5-step formula. And
yeah.
The backstory
a bit about that and why you made that. What benefit is this to students that they participate in something?
Good question. Like so I was supervising on a really bad Easter Bunny movie, and I'm trying to just have basic conversations with my crew. And they didn't understand. They didn't have particular skills, and I had to sit there and train them. These are working professionals who've been in the industry like anywhere from 2 to 5 years. Well, actually, some of them maybe 10 years. And I was just shocked, like they didn't know these skills. They hadn't been taught it. So I spent a lot of my time teaching that. And then as I was working with other artists and mentoring students and stuff, I realized like this information, like everybody that wants to work in the industry, the animation or VFX industry, they know like they have to have great VFX or animation, right? The skill that they want to do, that thing that they're hoping to do, they only know that they need to be good at that. But that's just one of 5 skills. There's actually 6 skills, but there's 5 that we're really going to highlight. So if you don't know what those other 4 skills are, it's like ignorance. Like if you're like, I didn't even know those exist, then when you go to apply for a college or you go out and you try to apply for a job and to build your career, you're going to get bypassed by the people that actually, maybe they didn't know it per se, but they intuitively knew it. So when you know all 5 of these skills and you develop all 5 of these skills, especially if you're just if you're in high school and you become aware of what these 5 skills are now, and then you've got 4 years or more to build off those. When you go out there in the industry, you're going to be light years ahead of everyone else. And especially when you're first starting out in the industry, often that first job it seems like it's a big barrier, but that's actually not the hardest. I found that getting that second and third job, getting the momentum of building a career, that's the hardest. And if I didn't understand story, because when I was at CalArts, I really studied, like I mentioned, I went to Iron Giant because I really want to learn story from Redbird. So if I didn't know story, that would have affected my animation. I was able to really shine as an animator because I understood what the character was thinking contextually based off the rest of the script. And the animators that didn't know that, they didn't understand story, which is another one of the skills, I'd be blasting further ahead than them. So I want everybody to really understand what these skills are and develop them, because it takes a long time to develop these skills, so that when you do go out in the industry, you can be confident, like, what's required of you. Because a lot of artists just think, I'll get hired at Disney or whatever, I'll get hired at a studio and everything will be great. And then you go into that studio, and because you don't really understand the business side of things, I know business is kind of scary to artists, but it's an industry. It's a film, or the motion graphics industry, or the video game industry. It's an industry, and those are companies that they're paying you so that you can be efficient. And if you don't know what that is all about, and that's another skill, then it's really going to bite you in the ass and possibly keep you from even getting into the industry. So it's really, really critical that you learn these skills. And I made this program because when I was starting out, if I never met my mentor, the guy named Alex that worked at Disney, if I hadn't met him when I was just wanting to get into a college, and he hadn't said, hey, light drawing, I wouldn't have had that competitive edge that let me get into Cal Arts at a time when that was the only school around, right? So that was super competitive back then. I don't know if it's as competitive now, but there was, I think, 3 colleges back then that taught animation. I think it was Sheraton, Cal Arts, and a school, this mythical school in Japan that I heard about. So because there, in Tokyo, there's a lot of animation. So yeah, it's really, really, really critical that you understand these 5 skills, and that's what this workshop's about. And like you mentioned, be part of your animation camp, and I just think it's really critical for everybody to just be aware of what these are and take some time to think about.
Yeah, so it's called the Top 5 Studio Skills for Success? Is that what it's called? Or?
The 5 studio skills that you need to have the career you dream about. And it's really important stuff. And when I was interviewing artists, I'd kind of ask them if they knew what these were. And if they didn't, I'm like, I don't want to deal with, even if it's a great artist, like if they don't have these other skills, it's going to be a lot of work for me to coach them to get to get what I need out of them. I'd rather go with somebody else that knows this stuff.
Yeah. So are you finding that the colleges, the programs aren't informing their students of those particular skills? Like they're training them technically that they know what they're doing, but there's skills to be able to be employed actively and efficiently in the industry. Are grads not really fully equipped that they really need to seek additional education?
Well, it's not really additional education. It's understanding what the skills are so that they're on your radar. So as you go and you're in college, you're like, oh, Mike said I need to develop this one skill. I'm gonna just consciously be thinking about that, because this is only stuff that after 15 years of the industry of working at the world's literally biggest studios out there, I was able to kind of pick together. Nobody taught me this, but I was like, I think that's important. I think that's important. And then once I got to the point where I was supervising and directing, I'm looking at the artists going, something's not right here. And I can finally put my finger on it. They don't know these skills. They're just not even aware of these skills. So it became my mission. Like if I could just sort of get in the DeLorean and go back in time and teach artists before they get to the school, hey, you should just be aware, like this is the path you want to go, and don't go that way, go down this path, and that's going to give you the highest chances of success of breaking in the industry and then building a career. So it's really like, I want to give back what I learned, and so people don't have to go through the struggles that I mean, I had a great career, but there's also a lot of stupid stuff I did that if I had known this, me at this age could go back to me at that age and say, hey, man, this is what you got to think about. It would have been 10 times better for me.
Yeah. So that's why you created this program. It's delivered by pre-recorded videos that you made, of course, beautifully because you're a filmmaker with great voice acting.
My hair was changing because I would shoot one and 2 months later I get a haircut.
True. So a little bit bad continuity on the hair, but we can let that slide. And then there's a workbook, and where it was really well organized and easy to follow, and we do drawings throughout it. And one of the exciting things too, like as we're going through each section, we're really reflecting and thinking about questions curious about, and I collect all those questions as the students are going through their workbook with the videos that you've made. And then we collect all these questions to ask you, and we get to directly ask you questions. I think that's everybody's favorite part.
That's fun for me too. So yeah, because you just learn what these 5 skills are, and then there's going to still be like questions you have, and you're going to be able to ask me through that call. And sometimes, I'll just keep talking till you get the answer. So you're like, okay, I'm clear on that. That's my job.
It's nice to hear that sort of summary about why you made it and how it came into being. Now, but you also have other ways of really engaging a graduate or a young animator. Are you still running those? So there's other education programs that you have for continuing learning. Are you still
I have a whole suite of them. One of them is an 8-month program where I show you step by step. It's really anal. Step by step how to build a short film, like from the story, from the concept. It's super detailed. And then I've got another monthly continuity program, which is just a vault of all my trainings. I think there's like 120 hours of me doing that. And when I was very lucky in my career, because as I was negotiating contracts with studios, I'd say like when I was directing commercials and stuff, I'd say, I'm going to record me doing the work so I can show that to students. So there's a Dish TV commercial that I did. It's like, and I'm a very fast animator. So it was like a 30-second commercial that it took me about 12 hours to do. And the whole process, I'm filming myself through the blocking and the refinement, and I'm talking to you about, if you're watching this, I'm explaining what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and then I show you how I write a letter to the client, and then I get the feedback and how I deal with the politics of it, and then how I go back and I approach refining. There's nothing else like it, because if you were getting Disney or something, there's no way they're going to let you film it and publicly put it out there. But I knew I was going to do this kind of mentoring. So I was able to do that, and there's just a lot of stuff in there that you're not going to find, like very honest behind the scenes stuff that you just don't get. Most animation instructors like sugarcoat everything, and I'd rather that people just understand the reality of what they're, this business, and I want people to understand that.
Yeah. And when should a student start to look at that? Is it upon graduation out of a program, or however they're getting their training? Is it something down the road a bit? They need to, I would imagine a lot of the students that come to us really need to probably focus more on their drawing skills and their story skills.
Yeah.
So this program you were just telling us about, is that more for grads and younger?
No, it's more, it's really for anyone. I think anywhere, wherever you're at in your skill set, you'll get something different. Like if you've never animated before, you'll watch me do the animation and go, oh, that's how it's done. And if you're really advanced animation, you'll look at that and go, oh, that's how Mike sets up stuff so it's more efficient. That's how he's approaching stuff with the clients. You're going to get, it's like when you're a kid, you watch a movie and some stuff goes way over your head. And when you're an adult, you're like, oh, I get the reference, right? So where we're at, we're going to get different references and just pick different stuff from it. But I think if people are just starting out,
would it help a student who wants to get into one of those really great schools, and it's so competitive now? Like it's crazy how competitive it is now, and how hard it is to get into these programs. Because I think it's just become a really popular area of interest for students. Something like that, do you think it would give them a deeper understanding to do better on an application portfolio, or is that jumping the gun? What do you think?
I think that if you're specifically focused on getting into a college, the number one thing right now is the 5 Skills Workshop, which is going to be part of your camp.
Okay.
That's just super critical, just because that's the foundation. It's almost like the 101 course, So if you understand that, then you can go into my other trainings, and they're going to be a lot more like you'll know, oh, he's talking about story here, and I kind of have a big picture of story. So then you can kind of go deeper in it. So I think for everybody, no matter where you're at, the 5 Skills course is going to be really critical for people.
Like, for example, Garth and we help a lot of students who are interested in Sheridan, because we live near Sheridan, and
down the road.
Our animation teacher is a grad from there. So we tend to get a lot of people from there. We've helped a few people get into CalArts too, but it's not as many. They get their portfolio actually is graded. So, and the areas that get graded the most harshly are life drawing, like you said, hands,
Sweet.
and storyboarding.
Yeah.
And there's an animation reel they have now, like just a really short, like 24 to 48 frame. And so in storyboarding, a lot of students really don't understand that. And they tend to get lower marks in that area. Do you have any short programs that would look more at story and storyboarding, or how to really understand, if I'm going to do this really short animation, what kind of things should I really be showing in that? Would you have any of those other, from all of that repertoire of stuff you
Yeah,
have,
I definitely have that, because
would help them have a better understanding of that? Because I think it's really, when you're a high school student, like, where do you learn that?
it's
You
hard.
know?
Yeah. Well, we touch upon it a little bit in the 5 Schools workshop, and then in my vault training, I was basically doing storyboards for a project, and I recorded myself going through that. So I talk about what my mindset is as I'm boarding stuff, and I'm trying to make it clear, readable, and generate drawings quickly. That's another thing. A lot of people just do these like really detailed storyboard drawings, but if the concept of the drawing doesn't work, you got to just rip it off the wall and do another one. That's why storyboards are super rough and sketchy, at least animation boards, live action, like a commercial board. If I'm doing storyboarding for a commercial, then it has to be a lot more locked down. So there's different types of storyboards, and that's another reason why it can get very confusing.
Yeah. Well, I'd like to talk to you more or email to find out, because I'd really like to find a way to give students more guidance in that.
Mm-hmm.
So like our animation teacher does teach a lot about story, because he kind of looks at, what did I learn at Sheridan that was really good, and what do I feel it was missing a bit now that he's working? Mm-hmm. And he found it was understanding character profiling and in story, more deeply. It can't just focus just on a character. It comes out of a
story's everything. If the story's not good, and there's how many movies come out each year that are just nobody cares, and that's because of the script. Bad story. And then you make a great story, like it's the Infinity War, and people love that because it's just, we care about the characters. The story is easy to follow. It builds. There's payoff and tension, and it's it's just night and day when you have a really good story to follow.
Awesome.
Yeah, so email me and I'll tell you more about that stuff.
Yeah. Is there anything you'd want to say in closing, Mike?
No, I just think, well, yeah, there is something I want to say. It's hard. As an artist, we're very insecure and we compare ourselves to other people. So if you're watching this, don't compare yourself to anyone else. Just know that you're on a particular journey, and some people are further ahead than you and some people aren't as far as you. And there's people that are not as far as you comparing themselves to you. So don't get in the mindset where I'm not good enough. Just be like, hey, I want to do this so bad. I may not be the best right now, but I'm only going to be the best if I continue on that journey and I take each step with joy and pride in what I'm doing. And when you do that, it's eventually going to happen. So because I know there's a lot of times when I got told no a lot, and it can really beat you down, but you just have to believe in yourself and know in your heart that this is what you're meant to do, and it's going to work out. It won't work out if you give up, right? But if you keep going, you're gonna get to that finish line eventually. So that would be my parting advice. So when does the workshop start? Is it
the workshop, the 5 Studio Skills, is in our summer camp on the 18th of August.
Okay.
So it's a Sunday morning, but by the time we get through all the videos and drawings and stuff, I believe we're going to be talking at 1:30 Eastern Standard Time.
But if people want to get in your whole camp, when does that start?
Yeah, so our camp is starting August 6th. It's a 2-week intensive camp. So we got 3 3-hour classes, 5 days a week, and then we work from 10 till 4 on Sundays. And we've brought in anatomy profs from Seneca and Sheridan Animation, so that you can really learn from the profs in the programs.
Cool.
Some of these key points to start looking for in your life drawing, because that's so important.
So, and I want to come.
Yeah.
If I didn't live so far.
It's so much fun. It is. It's a lot of fun. So we teach mostly the fundamentals, like you're saying, fundamental drawing skills, all the different types of drawings that are typically in an animation portfolio, we're giving them sort of just the basic beginning skills of being able to do those things. You're not going to learn it all in 2 weeks. That's not possible, but we can give you the understanding and that sort of viewpoint of how
the foundation of
that foundation, and we teach them about story and character development, and so it's a lot geared towards an animation portfolio, but it's those fundamentals. Cool. And we have a ton of fun. Okay. And we actually make a little animatic, like all the students together, where as they're learning about story and characters and all of that, they're creating a story together, and then each student will take one character to develop as they learn about character design and rotation, these things, and then they will take a section of the story that we're making together, and they're going to do storyboards, and it all gets put back together in a little animatic. So one student number one here will have this part of the story, and then student number two is going to have this next part of the story.
Like a real studio production.
Kind of like it's a little mini production. And then you get to learn all the skills, but have this fun creating this thing together, and everybody just has a wonderful geek fest. It's so much fun. From the students that are really animated themselves to the ones that are more quiet and they just want to draw, we just have so much fun creating this together. And
how do people sign up for that?
So we have our website, portprep.com, so they can reach out to us there. There's a page about the summer camp. We also advertise on Our Kids. So Our Kids is a national registry of summer camps across Canada. Oh, cool. And so, so that a lot of people find out about us that way because they've got this national reach and more money than we do.
Well, we're going to post this replay. So below or somewhere around this video, we'll have a link over to your sign up page, right?
Yeah, we'll do that because we still have spots available. And people come honestly from all over. Last year we had a student and her whole family come from Saudi Arabia just to come to our camp. We have people from all over the US and across Canada come to this because there's not very many things like this for this age group, right? For high school seniors. It's not like a kids art camp. It's an art, like a portfolio camp, really. But we do get younger people coming and just saying, I love animation. And we want you there, as long as you've got the maturity to be there and enough skill that you can really engage, why not start young, right? We do that with our athletes and our musicians. You got to do that with your artists, right? Because you expect to just know it all in high school. So it's so that's
most high schools don't teach art anyhow really well. So
I know they don't. I have students come to me and I teach them how to draw a box or something, and they're like, "How come we didn't learn this in grade 9?" I'm like, precisely.
My high school, it was the football coach was the art teacher. He got to the point, he was like, "Mike, I have nothing more I can teach you.
You could teach the class.
Go to art school and learn." So, well, anyhow, cool. So, I guess that's that. I'll send you the video replay, and then you can.
Great, thank you. So I really hope that because it's been really nice. I get to share with students all over, and there's a lot of support from student to student. There's these Facebook groups, and they all help each other out, and they've kindly let me share with them, and so this has been a fun thing to share with them, and that for them to know that this guy Mark Thurman, he's the figure teacher at Sheridan Animation. He's coming to do a one-day workshop on drawing figures, and so it's a great opportunity to be able to study directly with them, and so I hope that more people will see this and want to sign up because we just want to help people, encourage them, like you say. So, and thank you so much because I think them hearing about you and the life you've had, helps them to know this is possible, and it helps the parents to know this is totally possible. Wasn't it a family member of yours that told you about CalArts and Disney and kind of took you down there when you were 15?
Well, it was, we had a wedding at my house, and one of the guests said, "Hey, my brother works at Disney. If you ever want to tour." And I said, "Oh, I do." So the next day or something, I was down there. I was like, I'm taking this opportunity. But if you're a parent watching this, it's really hard to make a living as an artist, but it's not hard to make a living as CG, visual effects person. That's the one art career you can have where you can actually right out of the gate make really good money. So my first job, as I mentioned, was at Warner Brothers on Iron Giant. I had to be in the animation union, and there's a minimum. Back then it was $88,000 a year. I think it's more like 98 now because of inflation. So I was making more as a 21-year-old directly out of college than my dad was, who was a vice president of a major corporation.
Wow.
It was
right?
great. Dad.
So if you're a parent watching this, don't worry.
Yeah, I mean,
it seems like a lot of education to get to do it because you have to have such good drawing skills.
Yeah, but that's where you don't need to go and spend 150 grand to go to a Cal Arts. You can be more strategic and go to a junior college and study under mentors and do online trainings. And you don't. People have this mindset that they have to have a diploma. Oh, if I don't have a diploma, I'm not going to get hired. And that's probably true if you're a doctor or a lawyer or something. But if you're an artist, they're going to open their portfolio and they're going to say this person's good or this person's not good. And they don't care where you learn those skills. So it's really, I never had a problem with somebody,
that's good. So
even asking for let me see your Cal Arts diploma. People don't care.
Yeah, it's more, and if you're going to pre-train, just make sure the school can actually teach you how to draw. Because I've had students come to me, I've done a 4-year fine art degree and they still can't draw. Right. So yes, go to a smaller school. It doesn't have to cost 50 grand a year to go to, but it makes sure they're going to teach you life drawing. And
well, again, look at the quality of the work that students are doing.
Coming up. Exactly.
Yeah, if it's garbage, you're like, probably they're not teaching it well, right? So I'm not going to go there. I'm going to go to the school where I'm like, I want to draw like that. Like these students consistently are awesome. I want to learn from whoever's instructing those people. Because at the end of the day, it's not the school, it's the instructors. Yeah.
So anyway, and I'm one of those kind of people, I just love teaching, and our school's tiny and our camp is small. And we're so glad that you're part of it with us, Mike.
Well, I'm glad to be part of it.
I'm on your Sunday afternoon to share your wisdom and experience with us.
Thank you. It was great to be here. It's 8 at night for me, so I'm going to go put my toddler into the bath, and
nice.
I'll send you the replay, and I'll see you in a few weeks on the 17th.
18th.
18th. It's on my calendar, so.
Yeah, I know. You've already marked the day. You've already got it. Thank you.
Everything set.
And thanks for listening right to the end, Denise and Logan.
Denise, you're awesome. Shout out.
So I told so many people about this, loads of them. Not a lot were able to tune in, but hey, we've got a really interesting video, and lots of people are eager to share it with each other.
The replay will be seen. All right. Well, everybody that watched the replay, thanks for being here, and hopefully we'll see you inside the summer camp.
Yes. Okay. You can sign up individually just for this. You don't have to take the whole camp. You can just take Mike's workshop if that's what you want.
So reach out to Karen, and she'll let you know. All right, everybody.
I'll let you know. Thanks.
Bath time.
Bye.
Bye.